are you investing in an asset or like a house, or are you investing to be a member of an LLC that owns a house or is making an investment? So that's an important distinction because that's going to impact your exit strategy, which we'll talk
Yeah,
about
are you
later.
a principal in the asset, or are you just a shareholder in the company that has the asset?
Correct.
Really different. Really big difference.
Huge difference.
This is Mitch, and welcome to the Real Estate Investor Summit podcast. We've got Tom Dunkel on the line, and he's going to be talking about how he's helping people understand what and how and when and why to invest in certain things. We're going to get to it. Really, it's called the S.A.F.E method, and the premise is why invest in things you don't understand. And let's keep it simple. Let's figure out how to simplify that whole conversation and get into something without losing your arse. You know what I mean? Because it seems to be like the plan is let's go in and lose everything, and then we'll figure out how to come back. Let's make a better plan than that. All right. Now, I also have to give homage to my sponsor today. This episode of the Real Estate Investor Summit podcast is brought to you by taxfreefuture.com. Taxfreefuture.com offers you tax-free and tax-deferred savings accounts such as the IRA, the solo 401k, health savings accounts, and educational savings accounts. So to get your free consult, go to taxfreefuture.com and fill out the short questionnaire and hit the submit button, and you will not believe what your tax advisors are not telling you. Be sure to get your free consult, taxfreefuture.com. All right, we got that done. How you doing today, Tom?
Fantastic, Mitch. How about you?
Really, really, really good. So where are you physically sitting right now? What city, state?
I am in Wayne, Pennsylvania, which is about 20 miles northwest of Philadelphia. And it's a little bit of the Great White North here right now. We've had some snow and ice recently. So it's going all the way up to, I think, 45 today. So we should get some melting, but it's a little chilly up here.
Well, I just got back from the annual vacation with Mitch in Mexico. And, every year I just post where I'm going to go vacation for 5 or 6 days. And to my complete amazement, for the last 2 or 3 years, it's been about 100 people. This year was 80 people. I move it around different times of the year because different people can go at different times. You got kids, you got school, you don't have, whatever. So we went February the 8th through the 12th this year, and 80 people followed us down there, and also had Eddie Speed advertising, advertised with Eddie, vacation with Eddie and Mitch, and Tom Berry was vacation with Tom and Mitch. So if you want to come to Mexico with us and you want to have a following go down with you, there's no selling, there's no seminars, there's no run to the back of the room with the credit card. It's just a bunch of like-minded people on a real vacation. There's no agenda at all. But guess what we talked about, Tom, all day, 27 hours a day. Guess what the topic was?
Bikinis and palm trees.
Sort of for like a minute. And then, but that real estate they're standing on is probably worth, and then it just took off from there,
Right. Well, I've been, I've been following you for a while, and I know you've been doing that trip, and I really was trying to make it down this year. Because, of course, it'd be great to get out of the Great White North here.
I was going to say, that's why I brought it up, man. You could have had like a reprieve for 5 days,
Yeah, so next year, man, I'm putting it on the calendar. I'm gonna make it down.
Oh, well, good, man. We'll see what we can do. And if you're interested in promoting it, I'll give you the pieces, and you can advertise your following. I don't even mark up the vacation. I don't mark up anything. I just wanted to go there on vacation with like-minded people. It's a blast.
Outstanding.
So tell us, you've done like $35 million worth of deals in your career. You like to delve into fragmented and disconnected markets. Wealth comes from chaos is basically what you're saying. You find where the chaos is, jump in the chaos, figure out some solution for some of this chaos, if not all of it, and clear yourself a path to make money. Is that pretty much how you live your life?
Absolutely. Of course, it didn't start out that way. I've started out like most folks, following the herd and, kind of getting beat up and learning lessons the hard way. But over time, I discovered that, if a lot of people are doing something, that's probably not the right direction for me. So I guess I turned into, what they call a little bit of a contrarian. And so I started looking at, where are people not going? Where are the markets that are not what they call efficient markets? Because that's where, if you turn your brain on a little bit and you get a little bit of education, you can do a lot better and make safer, what I think are probably safer investments, safer decisions.
Yeah, well, you certainly will be buying at a steeper discount because everyone's afraid of it or not going there, or it's too hard to get to, or some reason why there's a limited amount of competitors in the space. I did the same thing with owner financing. For years, no one at all did it. Like when I was the only guy in my whole town, maybe another guy who was doing a few houses. Even today, though, even though it's gotten to be a lot more popular, there's still not that many people do it because it takes a certain kind of underlying debt to be able to be able to carry these mortgages for 30 years or for longer periods of time. Mm-hmm. And not everybody wants to fight that battle to get in that position to where I have the underlying debt that allows me to sell and not pay them off. So I understand what you're saying 100%. So we're going to talk about, the title of today's show is Why Invest in Things You Don't Understand. And it kind of goes along with the KISS method. Like, let's just keep it simple. At the same time, we're going to break down that why invest in things you don't understand. And you're going to explain to us the S.A.F.E method, right?
Yes, sir. It's a due diligence method that we've developed over the years of our experience, just to help put a framework around looking at different kinds of investments.
Well, there's a lot of new people trying to figure out with all the. We've been in an era like no other era. I don't know if there could ever have been a time when so many people want to be their own person and take control of their own financial future because of the internet and the different forms of communication that we have now. If you were born to be an entrepreneur, you're not having to discover it by the time you're 40 or 50 anymore. You're being brought into that realm a lot faster. I don't believe everyone's an entrepreneur. I firmly don't believe everybody's made to be one. I don't believe that everybody wants to be, nor should everybody be an entrepreneur. But for those of you that it calls to, and a lot of the things we're talking about don't necessarily mean that you have to be an entrepreneur. I mean, learning to invest your money doesn't mean you have to quit your job. Learning to take over your financial retirement, take control of what's it's invested in, and you guiding it doesn't have to do with you quitting your job and being an entrepreneur. So don't get it confused. It's not an all or nothing thing. Some people love their jobs. Some people make so much money at their jobs, it'd be stupid to jump. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Why don't you take what you're making, cut your overhead down a little bit so you can save a little piece of it, for God's sake, and then put it someplace where you won't have to do that job forever. Am I making any sense?
Yes, sir.
So let's talk about the S.A.F.E method. What is the acronyms S.A.F.E? What does it stand for?
So the S.A.F.E method stands for, S is for sponsor, which is who are you investing in? Who are you investing with? And there's a gazillion questions that revolve around that whole.
Let's talk about sponsor. Let's just stay right there for a little bit.
Okay.
Let's talk about sponsors. What's a sponsor? It could be a coach. It could be a mentor. Is that right? It could be an investor. Obviously, the sponsor's got to have been down the road before you. Is that simple?
That's correct. So who is this person that you're investing with? What's their track record, to your point? Do you know other people who have invested with them? What was their experience? What is this person's track record? Do they really know what are they talking about, or do they just have kind of a slick sales pitch?
Yeah. And so, but you're talking like a sponsor is a person who has some kind of investment vehicle, but it also could a sponsor be a mentor? Is this person that's
Sure.
guiding me or coaching me have experience? Is he really doing what he's talking about?
Correct.
So it could be a mentor or a coach or teacher.
Sure, no doubt. Sure. If I'm looking at getting a coach or a mentor, I want to make sure that they know more about whatever it is than I do, and that they have demonstrated expertise in that space.
Yeah. So anything else to add to sponsor? I mean, there's probably a lot more to.
Oh, well, there's tons. And I would say you definitely want to ask your questions. And as silly as it sounds, Google that person's name. What comes up?
That amazes me that more people don't Google you know, scam Mitch Steven or whatever, just to see if there's a bunch of bad crap out there about me. I Google it all the time because one of the reasons in my coaching thing is I don't hard close anybody, and I don't, and I at the highest levels or the most expensive levels of coaching, I won't talk anyone into it. You got to tell me you want to do it, and then we'll have a conversation to make sure. I'll have a conversation to make sure that I think I can help you, because if I don't think I can help you, I don't. That's a long day for me. When I'm helping someone that I can't help, that's painful as hell. And I don't enjoy that football game. I like the football game when we go out there and we kick ass and we make a lot of points. And by halftime, we're putting in the second team. You know what? That's the kind of football game I want to coach.
Right. So I learned this one, actually, Mitch, I learned this one the hard way. And that's where a lot of these questions and experiences have come from. I invested with a guy and ended up being a scam. And if I had simply Googled his name,
you would have got all you needed to know, right?
Would have saved me a lot of money and and heartache. So, and explaining to my wife.
Yes. Well, but I do want to say this: there are some, and I know this for a fact, some of the bigger gurus out there that do a lot of numbers. You're going to see, you can't do in a huge numbers, you can't train huge numbers of people and not have some complaints. It's the nature of the world. You're going to find your complainers. But beyond that, I mean, just be aware that just because a person, I mean, if a guy has 5 bad complaints in him, but he's coached 2 million people, it's probably not his fault those 5 people aren't happy. You know what I mean?
Correct. 100%.
Don't make that mistake. But
sure,
I would be so better served if I'd have had the internet to do that with when I first started investing. The internet wasn't what it was. And I find it unbelievable that the cons out there and the scam artists, they keep getting away with it over and over. And then they get slapped with fines or even get put in jail and they get out and they find more people. It's like, my God, if you could use that talent to do it right, you'd be a kabillionaire.
Right.
Have you ever noticed that about cons? Except for one thing. Usually the cons, I want to talk to you about the 3 signs of a con, just while we're on the subject.
Okay, let's do it.
But those cons spend so much energy doing it wrong that if they just straighten up, the only thing that gives the con the edge that would make it more difficult for them is they're always promising the moon, or they're promising you 75% of the deal, or they're promising you too much. So it's a little harder to sell on real terms. Like, look, we're 50-50, or you're going to have to be 35 and I got to be 65 because I'm doing. That's a little harder to sell. But for the most part, if these people would use their genius and their salesmanship to just do this right, they would be so much better off. So the 3 signs of a con, since I mentioned it. 1, they have an angelic facade. I'm a policeman. I'm a pastor. I'm a Marine. I'm a first responder. Chances are they're not. They just have a calling card that says they are. I have met a policeman that wasn't a policeman. Always talking about his next shift. What happened on the shift? He wasn't a policeman. He was a con. Second, the deal's really good for you. Maybe even too good. Except for we live in this era of, we live in the business of too good to be true, right? I find deals like, wow, that's too good to be true. But guess what? It's true. So you can't run away from everything that's too good to be true. You just got to investigate. Maybe that's the one you kind of set on the side. Sounds too good to be true. Is it part of the 3 pieces? And the third piece is extreme pressure to act now beyond way outside your comfort zone. And it's usually like, I need the money now by the end of the day, or by something that's not reasonable, that's pushing you mentally. It is. So when you see those 3 things, start checking out. Check it. Go Google the guy. That's exactly when you do it. Exactly, especially. Now, I would Google them like the first time you ever met their name and you're even considering them. Google them. Mm-hmm. The other thing I hate, though, is when someone says, hey, my name's Mitch Steven, Google me. I hate to say that.
Yeah.
So what else with the sponsors? We got sponsors. Tell me more. What's a really good sponsor? What checks the boxes in a great sponsor?
I think a really good sponsor is someone whose story makes sense. Someone that when they talk and they're communicating with you, you understand what they're saying. And that might sound really simple, but I know I've talked to people and what they're saying sounds pretty good, but there's just something that maybe doesn't feel right, or or maybe their language just doesn't match up with what I'm trying to learn, and it just makes it difficult to ultimately put your trust in that person. So I think being able to communicate, and to the point where maybe you can finish each other's sentences, kind of thing, that's when you know that you really have kind of a connection, and so that you can feel comfortable with that person. And ultimately, the ultimate question in all of these sections of the SAFE method is, can you sleep at night knowing that this cat has your money?
That's a great point. And so at the end of the day, like when I was looking for private money, I would always try to read if they were really comfortable or not. But at the end of the day, I say, look, if you're going to lay awake at night over this $50,000 or this $100,000, which I know is a lot of money, to anybody, but when it's everything they have or all their savings, that's an extra amount of stress. I say, look, I'll give you my social, I'll give you my driver's license. If you're really serious, I'll give you, because I don't want you, I'll even give you $200 to hire a private detective. I don't, because if you're going to stay awake and worry about this, it ain't worth it, because you'll drive yourself nuts. You won't go to sleep.
Right, exactly.
So get comfortable. All right, so the next is A. What's A stand for in
Yes,
SAFE?
sir. So A stands for asset, which is, what is it that you are investing in? Are you investing are you lending money to someone? Are you investing as an equity partner in a deal? Are you actually purchasing a property? So what is that asset, and what are the characteristics of that asset? Does it provide you with the income that's going to meet your goals? Is it secured by something? Is it something that you can easily understand? So if it's a house, a lot of people can understand a house. That's pretty easy. But back before I got into real estate and my entrepreneurial career, I was in investment banking, and we would have these characters come through our office. This was back during the tech bubble and everything. And man, they would stand up there and I wouldn't understand a word they were saying, but everyone around me was excited. And so I felt like I should be excited too. But at the end of the day, you just want to understand what is it that you're investing in, and can it meet your goals?
Yeah. Hearing someone talk and owning the concept in your heart is two different things.
Mm-hmm.
You could hear someone really excited about something. Like for me, like Bitcoin, I hear the excitement. I know what they're doing. It's like, I don't get it. It's like, let me see that. Like, we're making this stuff up out of thin air. Like, and I could be the biggest fool that ever, maybe you play this in like 10 years from now, like, damn, that guy was an idiot. But what good does it do to invest in something if you don't understand it? Whether it was a great idea or not, if you don't understand it, maybe you shouldn't get into it, because certainly you shouldn't, but
And this is where I get on my soapbox too, Mitch, where we've been taught that real estate and lending and mortgage notes and all that these are alternative investments. Well, nothing's more traditional. I mean, we're going back to biblical times here. I mean, people making, thou shalt lend, not borrow, all that good stuff. And everyone understands a house or a property, but we've been taught by Wall Street that's
really funny that we've been taught that buying certificate pieces of paper that's supposed to have some value is now is a standard investment, and we're like, what'd you call it?
Yeah. Alternative.
Loaning money to your neighbor, and if they don't pay you, you get to take their goat. That's just not standard anymore. That's not standard. That's not
right.
Bull.
Right.
Crap, right?
Exactly.
That's amazing. I never thought of it like that. They've taught us that if we deal with them, it's a alternative investment strategy. The ones that have been happening since the beginning of time.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, so lending and borrowing and property and all those things are, to me, nothing gets more traditional and easier to understand than that.
A really good sound practice shouldn't be complicated, should it?
No, definitely not. And that's why we like the SAFE method, is it helps to filter out ideas that might ultimately not fit your investing criteria.
So what are some of the assets that people come to you or talk about? I mean, it's unlimited, right? I mean, real estate's what I talk about, but that's
sure.
The thing. I mean, people can loan money on any cars. They can loan money on diamonds, jewelry. I mean, they got pawn shops, for God's sake. That's
sure.
They loan on everything. Then you got businesses that people want you to invest in. I always look at some of the safer things, though, have a tangible asset that if you don't get paid, it's delivered into your possession. You know what I mean?
100%. And that's one of the questions is the asset you're investing in, is it tangible? And how about this? Can it be insured? As a note investor, I think it's a beautiful thing, or a lender, it's a beautiful thing when the homeowner or the property owner, they have to buy insurance to protect your asset, your investment.
Your collateral. Your collateral.
I love that.
Yeah. So I think we glossed over that. You really are fond of buying mortgage notes, right? Or payment streams on houses.
Yes. So we have a few different verticals or silos that we work in. One is distressed mortgage debt. So we love buying debts that where we're buying call it a $50,000 loan for much, much less than that. And so it gives us a lot of upside and not a lot of downside.
Yeah. So banks, they have portfolios of non-performing notes, and they just one day at the board say, we've been carrying this for too long. We've got to liquidate it. We got to take our loss on the books to stay compliant with the whatever it is.
Correct. The regulators.
Yeah, regulators. And so they go and they sell these notes at, pennies on the dollar sometimes. Now they're probably spread all over the country, right?
That's correct. Yeah. The loan pools that we buy, they're spread all over the country.
And so will you do me a favor?
Sure.
If you ever need to liquidate the Texas side, will you call me? I'll buy all the Texas stuff, okay?
Of course. Yeah.
Antonio, man. Or maybe we won't sell it. Maybe we'll just go fix it up and flip it ourselves. And that's a little bit different profit margin than probably what you're doing, because if you're all over the state like that, you're buying it at such a steep discount that it makes up for the lack of location proximity, but also you sell it leaving some pretty good meat on the bone for other people, because you don't have time to mess around with squeeze every dollar out of every one of them. So
100%. Yeah. We always leave plenty of meat on the bone for the next guy, because that's not our business model. We're not in the flipping business. So if someone wants to buy a loan to get to the property and it's in their market, good for them. I hope they make a lot of money, because then they'll come back and buy another loan from me later.
Yeah. So I like tangible assets that if you don't, that it doesn't work out the way it's supposed to, you got something coming that you valued at least as much as what you gave up. Hopefully it's worth more than what you gave up, because it's probably going to take some time to liquidate it to get made. But anything else about asset?
I think it's also important to understand, is this a passive opportunity or is this an active opportunity? So is this something you're just going to hand your money over to someone and they're going to put it in this asset and you're just going to clip coupons or get paid back at some point in the future? Or are you actually going to be participating in the opportunity, whether it's maybe helping to manage a property or do a workout with a borrower, whatever it is?
I got the perfect example for you. When I show people like what I do for a living and I'm trying to borrow the money to buy the house, and they go, well, you're making 25%, you're only offering me 8% or 6% or 10%. I said, well, yeah, I'm doing all the work. You're just going to go to the mailbox and back once a month, for your money. So it's complete. If you want to make what I make, jump in, brother. I'll teach you how to do it. Turn in that shingle you have on the wall that says you're a doctor, fire all these people in your office and cancel your lease, and let's go do houses.
All right. Exactly. Yeah, 100%. I think another key thing about the asset is how do you value it? Again, back to my short time in internet investment banking, it's like, how the heck are you supposed to put a value on that thing?
Very important. Never trust the value that they tell you. You have to go establish the value yourself.
Correct, which is why I think real estate is great, because you can look at the comparables around the neighborhood, and you might not get it down to the nickel, but you're going to know.
But if you're just going to go to that wholesaler and take his word for it that house is worth 120, you're a fool.
Correct.
You're a fool. If you're going to just take his word for it that the rehab is only $20,000, you're a fool. Because they are more than happy to exaggerate the price and minimize the repairs that have to be done so that they can make their money, because They don't care about you. They care about themselves. And
correct. And of course they ignore the carrying costs and the insurance and what can go wrong and the contingencies and all that. Yeah. Heard that story before.
Yeah. I think that's the first thing, that's the problem with being the pawn shop guy. he's really got to know what the value of all this stuff is on the street in his location, in
Right.
his city or his town. And it could be completely different. So, people think pawn shops are easy. The guy who's the backbone of that company is the guy who is establishing value. He'll make or break that pawn shop.
Mm-hmm.
He has to know about lawnmowers, and he has to know about diamond rings. He has to know about watches, and he has to know about a weed eater and a chainsaw.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, I love those shows. I'm always amazed at how well they know that stuff, or at least they're great negotiators. That's for sure.
Or at least they have great producers on that show that make you think.
That's true too.
Yeah. Sure. All right. So, anything else on asset?
I mean, there's lots more we can go into, but
just read down the list. Just look at it and read down the list.
Okay. Actually, here's another one. Are you investing in an asset or like a house, or are you investing to be a member of an LLC that owns a house or is making an investment? So that's an important distinction, because that's going to impact your exit strategy, which we'll talk about.
Yeah, are you
later.
A principal in the asset, or are you just a shareholder in the company that has the asset?
Correct.
Really different. Really big difference.
Huge difference, for sure. And then, of course, the whole point of doing this whole exercise is, to identify risks. So what are the risks associated with this asset? Are you investing in a property in an area where there's hurricanes or floods, as opposed to some place that doesn't have those things? So you gotta put your mind around all those different potential risks associated with this asset.
Yeah, we're at the top of a market. We're at the bottom of a market. Where are we buying this asset? At what time are we buying this asset? Are we buying it at the bottom, or are we buying it at the top?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, great point.
Okay, so
100%.
let's go on to the F in SAFE. What's the F?
So F stands for financials. And so this isn't just the financials of the asset, but it's also your personal financials. If you're being asked to put up $50,000 to make a loan or buy a property, how does that fit into your personal financial plan? Is that all of your money, or is that 1% of your money? And so you need to make that decision about, is that really the check that you want to write for that opportunity? Yeah.
If you lose that money, is it going to crush you?
Correct.
Then you need to make sure that the risk reward is less. If that's everything you got, and it'll crush you or devastate you emotionally, then we need to look for something that maybe is not quite as lucrative, but has more safe. What am I trying to say? Is safer.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And to me, this is where true diversification comes in, because back in my pre-entrepreneurial life, when I was in corporate world and we were working with public companies, you're not really sure what you're investing in, and there's lots of complications in terms of how you evaluate those opportunities. So I think when you're in this world and you're looking at the financials of a property, how much cash flow is it going to throw off, and what can we sell it for in 3 to 5 years? Those things are so much clearer in these kinds of investments, and so you truly are diversified, because the stock market goes up and down, and everything goes up and down together, as a lot of people unfortunately learned the hard way back in 2008. But if you're investing in a property, or you're investing in a loan, and you're investing in a self-storage facility, if something happens over at this place, it's probably not going to have much of an impact over on this other place.
Wow. So I like what you're saying. I'm trying to figure out how to word this, but transparency is always best. I operate off private money. I'm sure Tom uses private money to the hilt too. So let's just get it out on the table. The reason why we pick the asset class that we do is because not only does it offer us security, but it offers the private lenders that we need to get the money from, it offers them a certain amount of security too. For example, if I need to borrow, I never let my investors in over 65% of what the owner finance price of that house is at the time of the deal. Mm-hmm. So a $100,000 house, I never let my investors in over 65%. And I average only borrowing 58% or $58,000 on a $100,000 house. Now there's a lot of margin there, And so the bottom line for me is with these people, it says, what's my risk? You're either going to get paid the percentage as agreed on the first of every month, or you're going to get this house for your 58, 59, up to $65,000. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty simple to understand. You have to go back and just verify that the value is what I'm telling you. And if my value is what I tell you, then it's pretty easy to make that decision. What's going to have to happen before I can get hurt on if I loan $65,000 on $100,000? Well, the housing values will have to go down 35% before the asset's worth what you have in it.
Right. Yeah, it's a beautiful thing.
So the chances of losing everything is almost impossible, because I don't know when does a house become worth nothing. Now, there's some God-given circumstances, hurricanes without insurance and fires, but even then you got a piece of dirt that's worth something.
Right.
So,
yep. 100%. So
do you borrow a lot of money from private people to buy notes?
We do. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And essentially, you may not own that house, but you're pledging your first lien collateral rights for that house. So at the end of the day, you and I are offering the same security. It's a tangible house that someone's going to pay to live in or to own, right?
Correct. Yeah, absolutely. And along those lines, when you're investing in a property, for example, or you're making a loan on a property, what lien position are you in? I think you want to confirm that you're in the position you think you are. Some people might say, hey, I want to borrow money on this house, but you need to know, are you going to be in second position? You're going to be behind a first, or are you going to be in first position? And to your point earlier, what is the loan to value? There's a lot of important metrics to look at in
and if you don't understand first and second lien position, then just make sure you're in the first position, okay? If you don't understand it, just make sure you're in the first position. Once you understand how first and second liens and third and fourth liens work, then you can make a different decision maybe. And second liens can be as good or better than first, given circumstances. Like if you're only loaning, if there's only $100,000 left owed in the first on this house, and it's worth $1 million, and they're looking for 20 grand, I do that second all day long, because I have the 100 grand to take them out if it doesn't work, and I'll end up owning $1 million house. But anyways, consult your attorneys and your experts and your CPAs before, because he and I are not licensed attorneys or licensed financial advisors. We're just telling you our opinion on this for better or for worse. But always check it out, and always check out your state's laws, not only the federal laws, but the state laws.
Correct.
So what else on financials?
So let's say, you've gone through your analysis, you're going to make the investment. Okay. What is your, how are you getting paid back? What is your, are you getting monthly payments? Are you getting quarterly payments? Are you just getting payments at the end? And if so, how are those calculated? So there's a lot of people, it's kind of funny, when they make investments, they don't understand, how am I getting paid back? Time.
Yeah. Can you weather the storm without a payment for this long? Because if you can't, this one doesn't pay for 2 years, or it doesn't pay for a year. Right. If you can't weather that storm, don't do it. It's not within your financials.
Right. And do the projections that the sponsor is giving you, do they seem reasonable? Does it seem like that investment can pay you your, 8 or 10% that has been
hey, I got one
advertised?
I got one under financials you might not have, and you might need to add. You may need to check your sponsor's financials to make sure, get a copy of this, to make sure that they have what it takes to get through the dang deal. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a great point. And one thing I do have on my list is the financial statements, but that could be for the deal. But to your point, it could be for the sponsor as well.
Yeah. Sometimes, every time I've ever gone into business with someone, like we were going to form an LLC to go in, my rule was, because I did it one time, and I thought the guy had a bunch of money, and thought he was very successful. And we went in to get a loan together to do a certain thing, and the banker said to me, "What do you need him for?" And I said, to help with the financials backing to get these loans. He said, "You're carrying like 98%. I said, I went to this thing. So now anytime I go to partner with someone, if we're going to partner in a business and go the long haul and set up an LLC, everyone's got to bring their financials to the table. Everyone, all of it, tax return, everything, because I'm not making that mistake again.
Yeah. Right.
we need to know how long or how short each other's legs are. So each one of us knows, perfect thing was that we're both equal. That way we can handle any burden. We're not worried about handling the success of the company. I'm worried about handling the problems of the country. So the company. So can we all handle the problems equally? Or like, I'm going to run out like 75% faster than you are, or you're going to run out 75% faster than I am. And after like 25% of the problem, I'm going to have to start handling 100%. That's why you would want to look at those financials.
Yep.
This is good stuff, man.
100%. No, thank you. I'm glad you like it.
You think about this, didn't you?
Yeah. I think the reason this whole thing came about was because I found it was very easy to get confused or focused on the wrong things or skip important steps when we were looking at investment opportunities. So I thought this was a good framework just to help folks keep in mind the different elements that they should be thinking about when looking at investment opportunities.
There you go. We got the S, we got the A, we got the F in SAFE. Tell us about the E.
Yes, sir. So the E stands for exit, which is, how the heck are you going to get out of this thing, and when, and how's that going to work, and how much you're going to get back, and
Who gets what? Who gets
right? Who gets what? Yeah. How is the pie whacked up, and and when? So a lot of times if you're working with a sponsor who has a property and they have a system and they have a track record, they can predict pretty well. When are they going to be able to repay that loan, or when are they going to be able to fix up and sell that house? So it's a lot of these S.A.F. and E, they overlap, but this one has to do with how the heck do you get out of this thing, and is there a market? If you needed to get your money back quickly, if something happened to you personally and you needed to get your money out of this investment, is that even a possibility? Or do you necessarily have to wait until the end to get your money back? And those are going to be things that are going to be documented in the operating agreement a lot. If you're entering into a private placement, for example, there will be a section in there about redemption, and a lot of times it's tough cookies. If you put up your investment, you're in for the long haul, and there is no redemption. Or if there is a redemption, maybe it's at a discount to maybe what you put in. So you need to pay attention to those kinds of things.
Yeah, so the exit could be all kinds of things, but a little easier, a little simpler subject. How does this all end, and who gets paid what? Mm-hmm. So he's going to give you the PDF of this template, which goes more in depth and can cover more, just because we're limited here on time. But go to reinvestorsummit.com/T Dunkel, Dunkel, and get your free PDF. And then, Tom, when your people get with my people and put stuff in the show notes back there, mm-hmm. You can put anything you want. If you've got speaking engagements or you have a webinar or whatever, you can put all kinds of things there. But there's a nice giveaway for the listeners. reinvestorsummit.com/T as in Tom Dunkel, Dunkel. And I don't know, anything else you'd like to tell the new folks out there before they jump into business and try to figure out how to become financially free?
Well, I would just reiterate what we've been talking about here, which is, make sure you understand who you're working with, make sure you understand what you're investing in, make sure you understand the financials, and make sure you understand how the heck you get out of that thing. And if any one of those things doesn't feel right, doesn't sound right, doesn't smell right, stop. Say no.
Start using Google a little more.
Right.
Start Googling, like, you've known a guy for 30 minutes and you're thinking about doing a deal with him, for at least Google his dang name. Geez.
Correct. And if at any point you're uncomfortable, just say no. No is a super powerful word. And you know what? There's so many opportunities out there that there's plenty of things that you can be looking at. So don't feel pressured into jumping on this new hot thing that sounds sexy.
Hey, and if you're not a researcher, just find someone who is. There's people out there that know how to research like crazy. For 10 or 15 bucks, for 25 bucks an hour, they'll go out and research everything they can find. They'll bring you back all kinds of stuff. You may not even have time to. That's what I do. I don't have time, but I want to know about someone. I pick up the phone. I know exactly who I'm going to call. I'll pay them 25 bucks. They get back to me in about an hour and a half. Mm-hmm. They give me, you can't believe what people can find. Well, I guess you would by now, but
Yep. It's a with a little bit of investment of time and energy, you can save yourself a lot of money and headaches for sure.
Yep. All right. Well, you guys have been listening to Tom Dunkel. I'd like to thank everybody for stopping by to get you some Mr. Tom Dunkel. This is Mitch Stephen with the Real Estate Investor Summit podcast. Again, I'd like to thank taxfreefuture.com. You wouldn't believe what your financial advisors are not telling you. It's unbelievable. It goes right along with him saying, what alternative investments. They ain't alternative. They're not telling you about them because that's where all the money is. So let's talk about tax-deferred and tax-free investments and how come this alternative stuff isn't so alternative. Anyways, thanks a lot for listening. We'll see you later, Tom. Thanks for being on the show. Really appreciate you.
Mitch, it's great being with you, my friend. Thank you so much.
Okay, one last time, reinvestorsummit.com/T Dunkel. Go get your PDF. Bye now.